Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. Before we jump into today's video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another video that I post. Today we're talking about something very exciting, which I'm not entirely sure I've talked very much about on this channel, and that is my novel that I'm writing. I am writing my very first novel, which is scary and exciting and awesome all at the same time. But today I want to talk a little bit about kind of the like nitty-gritty details of how I'm doing it. I think something that isn't talked a ton about while in process is the process and how people come up with like the really small things in their books, and I'm really excited to kind of talk a little bit about how I'm like coming up with ideas and names and all sorts of stuff in my novels. So we're gonna get started. Just a little background. I am participating in NaNoWriMo for technically not the first time, but this will be the first time I finish it. And so if you don't know what NaNoWriMo is, the whole point is you write 50,000 words in 1 month. Ideally, you write the entire first draft of your novel in a month, which is chaotic, but a whole lot of fun. So I am writing a YA fantasy novel, which I am super excited about. It is set in it's a like, you know, historical seeming context, in which there are two kingdoms who sign a treaty guaranteeing basically that the eldest son and daughter of one family will marry, and the youngest will also marry. So therefore, you know, combining their kingdom's powers and all of that. The book starts taking place the week of the elder couple's wedding, and things happen, trouble ensues, there's a little bit of magic. It's a really cool world, and I'm really excited about it. So the idea for this novel did not actually come to me before I wrote any of it, which is really weird to say. I wrote the ending of this book before I knew anything about the book. So I had one of those like totally cliche stories. I was like in the shower, just, you know, washing my hair, living my best life. And this scene popped into my head, which I don't want to say too much about because it kind of, it's a big cliffhanger, we'll say that. But when it came to my head, I was like, well, maybe this is somewhere in the middle of a book. This could be the start to a book, could be a really good start. And somehow now it's become the final chapter, like the last scene of the final chapter is the scene that I came up with one day about a girl going to the theater. We'll leave it at that. And that girl ended up being Princess Eliana, who is, I haven't quite decided if she's actually a heroine yet, but she's the protagonist of our story, we'll say, one of them. And so, yeah, so I wrote that scene first and I just kind of put it in a folder and I just left it there. That was in like early October. And then I was like, okay, what do I want to write for NaNoWriMo? Like, what do I want this novel to be? I knew I was going to participate this year. I knew I wanted it to be fantasy. And this idea came to my head about what would happen if a family with magic signed a treaty with a family without magic, and that family made them swear magic would not be a part of their lives. What would happen if that happened and someone didn't like that? So I don't want to like give too much away, but that's kind of the premise. Is one of the kingdoms had magic, the other didn't. The kingdom without magic was like, the only way for this treaty to work is for you to cut magic off from your kingdom forever. And so the other queen agreed, and now we're 18 years later and magic is returning. And what does that mean for this treaty, for these young couples who had finally obviously come to terms with the fact that they were going to be married? So I'm really excited about the story. So what I want to talk about more is kind of like the detailed things, the things that I never really thought about, but are like my favorite parts of writing, and like coming up with character names, plot points, relationship building, and kind of the different tricks I'm using for that. So I am both, I have two types of characters that I name. I have like characters with like insanely specific research names, and I have characters that I just pick names I like. So there's kind of like two veins of characters. And so we're gonna go into my notebook here. So in this book, there are 2 kingdoms, 3 kingdoms really that we explore. There's a 4th kingdom, but I don't think we're exploring that till the 2nd book. But essentially there are these 3 kingdoms, and they each kind of have a different element. And so when I was trying to come up with names for the people in these kingdoms, I kind of went off of a like topic theme for each kingdom, because obviously these are like nations and different nationalities have different naming conventions and things like that. It's not that detailed, but the names definitely seem to like group together well. And so when it came to naming nobility in these 3 kingdoms, I did a lot of research. So we have a kingdom that's like very much based in light and day, another that's more like moon and night, darkness, and another that's magic, stars, things like that. And so those are kind of the keywords I went off of when naming the families. But then we also have people who married into the other kingdoms, and I still wanted their names to fit in, because those people, you don't know what kingdom they're from in the beginning. Well, you do for one of them, but a lot of people don't know what kingdom they're from. And so I wanted their names to kind of, you know, fit into the kingdom they're in, so there wouldn't be any suspicion, because obviously we, especially like, even within the US, which has like no traditional like very American names, unless you count like the crazily spelled names from Utah. But like there's no like true American names. And so, but we still can like, we hear someone named like, I don't know, something, anyone with Lee as a middle name, but they use it as part of their first name. You're like, oh, you're from the South, right? Like there's things that you can tell. There's like very much like rich Eastern Seaboard names that you can think of. So regionally there are names obviously like would cue people to where people are from. And so I wanted to make sure with these 2 characters in each kingdom that are actually from a different kingdom that their names still fit in. So I'm not going to tell you which character from these lists actually belongs in another kingdom, but their name makes sense. So I kind of went through and I picked out some things with meanings. I don't have all the meanings on this page, but they all kind of fit the theme. So all the ones that are like day or night based have, you know, meanings like literally just sun, morning, what is her name's actual meaning? Daughter of the sun, like very much, these are the royals, and so their names are very, very sun-based. There's some, you know, nobles that have names that mean like light and things like that. But the names very much fit in the, at least the nobility. And then the, you know, the moon kingdom, they all have meanings like darkness. Let's see, where are some of them? New moon. That's wrong kingdom. Some of these, yeah, some of them are just very much evening, things like that. Then it came to naming nobles, and still, I haven't really named any nobles in the Night Kingdom actually, but in the Day Kingdom, all of their names, they're less blatantly, like some of the names of the royals are very blatantly like themed, but the other nobilities, the dukes and things like that, they're not quite as like overtly light based, but they all kind of fit together, like they make sense for that kingdom. And then we have like the other edge of that is the minor characters and just like the villagers, townspeople, palace staff. I just kind of pick names I like. I started writing this book whilst finishing a originals and Legacies binge, and so one of the guards' names is Niklaus because I can do that. And so a lot of it's just, you know, names that just come out of nowhere. I'm watching Pretty Little Liars right now, and so another guard is now named Ren because I was watching a scene with Ren when I was like, this character needs a name, and I go, hey, there's Ren. So like some things, it's just like, I really like that name, so I'm just gonna put that name in, but then others I like deeply think it out. So there is that. That's kind of like how I approach names. I love watching like baby name videos to get ideas. I did a lot of baby name researching, things like that. And the other thing is, Since this is about nobility, I am also going obviously back into past kings and stuff. This is a timeline of one of the kingdoms. They don't all have names yet, but sometimes we'll be talking about a time period and I'm like, crap, the king from this time period needs a name. And so I'll go back and pick a name. And then I decide, well, are they the first of their name? Or are they the seventh of their name? And then I have to like process, okay, but then where do 1 through 6 fall in this? So that's how I approach naming. The other thing that I think is kind of key to how I'm writing this novel is how I am helping myself get past points of contention in my brain. I'm the kind of person who can come up with a billion ideas and not know which one I want to roll with. And so when I come to a point where I have a question about a relationship, a plot point, how a situation is going to go down, I am leaning on my metaphysical practice, and I am using the tarot cards to help me with character identity, relationship, plot points, interactions, things like that. So what I'll do, and this is kind of far back so you won't really be able to read it, but I will write down questions I have. So like this page, it's about 2 characters' initial relationship, how one of the characters' magic manifests, another feelings about a character after an event's happened, reactions to events that occur. I will pull a card for. If I'm like, I don't know which way I want to go with this, I'm going to pull a card and I'm going to see what's going to happen. When I was creating the main like 8 characters, I did tarot draws. The first thing I did actually for this book, other than writing that one scene, was I drew 5 cards to give me some base characters. And so I drew those cards. I had no idea who these characters were. And then I went through and figured out who they were. I didn't like be like, okay, this is my protagonist, what card will it be? I was like, just tell me 5 of my characters. And then I looked at those 5 characters and I was like, aha, I can figure out who these are once I had an outline and a plot and I had an idea of what I wanted. So I was very excited about how that shaped out. So basically, I'm using 1 tarot deck for this book, just because I want to keep my messages clear and especially when I'm using these like character descriptions, I'm using a lot of like imagery from this deck as well. And so I wanted it all to be consistent. So I'm using The Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, which is actually my first tarot deck. So this is really special, using my first deck to write my first novel. I think that's kind of poetic in a sense. So yeah, I've pulled so many cards for this novel. I'm really excited about the insight it's given me. And that is kind of, you know, what I've been doing for that. The other thing that's keeping me organized, and this is kind of a weird last thing, but I just kind of want to share some of the things that, you know, you don't talk about a lot. My organization for this is this sketchbook. This is just like an Erin Condren sketchbook that I got on Amazon because I just wanted a cute sketchbook, and so it's, you know, just blank pages because I like to outline and draw things. I'm not a good artist, but I did draw a tentative map, which is terrible. I won't even show you it because it's so bad. But I wanted to kind of have this be fairly streamlined. And so I picked 2 pen colors. I just kind of grabbed these 2 pens. The colors don't really have significance to anything. But I've decided that all of my initial thoughts, my research, my quick notes, any tarot draws, I'm writing in blue. Then I'm going back in if I have additional thoughts later about something I've written in here or an idea sparks, then I'm going and marking that in green. So I can show some examples of this. I participated in the Y'all Fest, Y'all Write convention last weekend, 2 weekends ago. What is time? And so we were going through these seminars. Let me see if I can find one that has less details because some of these I wrote some like big plot point notes. Okay, so like this was a seminar on writing romance. And so I was writing notes in blue, and then I'm not going to show you which characters I was talking about there. But then I had a thought about my novel that went off that, and so I wrote that in green. So anytime I had a thought, like here's another thought I had about my novel that I wrote in green instead of in blue. And then this next page actually has a lot of thoughts. Or not this, no, it's this one. But like, as you can see, I like was very inspired about my novel, and so anything that was about my novel I wrote in green. So that's kind of how I've been working with that first initial tarot draw page. After I got all the details, then you can see like my process of deciding who everyone was. This character took me a long time to decide who they were. I had a lot of notes, but that's kind of how I'm keeping organized. So blue is like research, initial thoughts, plans. Green is brain dump, essentially, or like more detail oriented planning that like comes to me later. So those are kind of the main things I want to talk about. NaNoWriMo, my naming techniques, because I think it's just funny how different they are, using the tarot, and my journal. And then I say what this is, it's a fairly big sketchbook, and so this is looking like it's gonna be a trilogy, and so I wanted to have a lot of space to plot out. I might switch pen colors for the second book, maybe, we'll see, just to try and keep myself organized, but I'm hoping that I can fit much of this series into this notebook so I can keep everything condensed. That's kind of my hope. So that's kind of it. I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book, and you may never see it, but I'm enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. And I have more writing to do today, so I'm gonna wrap up this video so I can go write. So if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. Please subscribe if you are new, and comment below if you're doing NaNoWriMo and tell me about your project. I'd love to hear all about it. Make sure you share this video with a friend if you think they might benefit from some writing tips. And make sure you get your SBK merch. There's still enough time to order in time for Christmas, so make sure you check out the link in the description to get your SBK merch today. And use the code SELFCARE for 20% off through the end of November. All right, I'll talk to y'all in my next video. Bye.